Hi YouTube, my name is Olga and welcome to the village. My channel is going to be about giving my testimony about how it's been raising two teenage boys on my own with my brother having a hand in helping me raise my kids, going from doing very well independent LPN living up north to relocating to the state of Florida so that my brother could help me deal with my sons that were having behavioral issues and one son dealing with mental illness, from homicidal ideations to one child calling the police and arrest and losing everything, becoming homeless, and how God brought us to a good place where we are still navigating and allowing Him to order our steps, but still trying to figure out things and rebuild our lives. But I just want to let you all know out there, for those that are going through, mothers and fathers that are raising those kids out there, whether you are single parenting or co-parenting, or you're doing this as a team, husband and wife, raising your teenagers, and Uncle Sam thinks that he gets to say so on how you raise your kids. And, they're filling our kids' minds with foolishness. They're not training DCF. I don't feel as though DCF is being trained properly. I don't believe the CPS, whatever you want to call them, they're not being trained properly. I don't believe our health instructors in these schools are being taught how to teach our kids on what is child abuse and what is not child abuse. And our kids are using these um, situations or circumstances to benefit them because they're kids. And uh, in my situation, my kid took a BB gun in school, 15 years old, got kicked out, sent to alternative school, was disciplined, police was called, CPS came in, child abuse orders written up, went to the emergency room physician said no child abuse, CPS washed their hands of us, CPS created a no contact order, we were forced to leave the home that we were living in, and then we were told we weren't allowed to leave the county, but we were homeless, but they wouldn't help us find housing. So, the government thinks that they have a say so on how we raise our kids, to discipline or not to discipline. And I understand there should be rules in place. However, if you're not teaching society to know the difference between what is, what isn't, what shouldn't be, what should be, then who gets to decide? And when things start into a snowball effect, into an avalanche, and people's lives are turned inside out, upside down, who helps to fix the family? In our case, no one did. CPS threw their hands up in the air. In my case, I feel as though someone was trying to make a name for themselves and they saw an opportunity. And when it came to be known that there was no opportunity, there was no name to be made, we were kicked to the curb. We couldn't go to a shelter because my kids are teenage boys and I am a single mom. So there were no shelters available for our situation. And everybody in my family was afraid because my 15-year-old at the time had called the police on my brother for disciplining him. And he felt as though he had been abused when he was not abused, for taking a gun, a BB gun, yes, but a gun nonetheless, to school that he could have been shot and killed for. And instead of going through this horrible situation, I could have been burying a child. My child at the time did not feel as though that we were right in our stance. He felt as though everyone, including the police officer, the vice principal, myself, my brother, everyone who agreed with what was going on, even the detective who said that the punishment the punishment fits the the crime, I guess, in lack of a better word. Um, he felt as though we were making a big deal out of nothing. My kid is 16 now, and it has, this is since December of 2015. We are in December of 2016, and we are still in limbo. All charges have been dropped, yes. My brother lost his job, couldn't keep a job because he was accused. Never found guilty, all charges dropped, but he couldn't keep a job. And then with that situation, almost lost his home that he had just purchased to foreclosure. I was living with my brother because my teenage sons were having disciplinary issues. Well, they were having behavioral issues. And, taking away phones, computers, Xbox, you know, taking away things, putting them on teenage timeout was not working, you know. Counseling, I sought counseling and nobody would help me, with counseling. To get counseling, it took me having to Baker rack one of my kids twice. Well, the first time I had him Baker rack. The second time, the state Baker racked him because at that point he had a plan on how he was going to um, take my life at that point. I just want to let you know, through the grace of God, that child is doing great. He's thriving. He's doing very well. He is doing excellent in school. He is more loving, attentive. I do still walk around on eggshells because I'm sorry, you can't be beat down and, it's like PTSD, it's like you just constantly on edge, not knowing what you're going to say or what you're going to do that's going to cause that person to go into flip mode and feel the way they do. So with that, I have that on one side, and yeah, he was receiving therapy, did very well, and it took him being Baker Act a second time in order to finally get therapy. And after the December situation that happened with my other child calling the police, trying to get him his way, um, he we lost that therapy, and my oldest still is doing well. He's still doing well without the therapy because the therapist that was seeing us, he was that good that he made an impact on my child. But this child, the 15-year-old, now 16, you know, it is really, really, really a struggle. But I say welcome to the village because it takes a village to raise a child. And my village was arrested. My village almost spent time in prison. My village went through 5 months of going to court once a month, every month, standing before a judge so that he can be found guilty or not guilty because he loved his nephew enough to step up to the plate to do what his father wasn't doing. Um, I'll have you to know that I was married for almost 15 years, divorced. I've been divorced for almost 13, maybe 14 years now. My ex-husband is not an issue. We don't co-parent. Matter of fact, I can't even tell you the last time we spoke. I think he may have spoken to our sons maybe June of this year was the last time he spoke to the boys. But he hasn't been hands-on with the boys. And I think that came from us not doing well communicating and having a relationship that was conducive to us coming together and putting the boys first because there was always a tug of war. And I felt like I always had to bend over backwards to accommodate, but it was never enough. And it just got to a point where, you get it, enough is enough, But, I've worked here and there as a nurse because my kids came first. They come first. But what do you do as a single mom that this the government thinks that they have control, they have the say so on how you raise your kids, and your kids have been brainwashed by the state as to what is and what isn't allowed, acceptable, and so forth, as well as we're living in a society where black boys are being killed left and right. And people like me out here on an island by myself, not knowing of any other parents that are going through this. I'm on here because I want to let you guys know that you are not alone. There are other people out here that are going through situations like that. Going through this, I had to watch my best friend go through this whole situation where she was arrested for a child that was doing what she wanted to do at 14. She lost all her kids, or 5 kids. She eventually did get them back, but she was arrested. She had to go, before a judge. We had to constantly go in and out, to court, till everything was resolved. But it took years, and it took a load on her. And we have other friends, other single moms that have been through this. And in today's society, it's such a secret hush hush thing that parents are battling raising these kids by themselves, and the state having so much say so. What do you do? You know, in my situation, put God first. Stay on those knees and know that God is God and his word will not return to him void. First and foremost, know that Jeremiah 29:11, he came to give you a future and a hope. His word will not return to him void. So God is not a God that lies. He is going to take care of you, and he will carry you through your situation. I'm here to let you know